Hey Floss Tube, this is Brian. Welcome back. This is my 46th Floss Tube video, and in this video I plan on sharing with you what I have been able to stitch this week. But first of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. If you are returning, welcome. I really appreciate that you watch my videos and spend time with me. Thank you for subscribing to my channel and for all of your comments. It's been a great week stitching-wise. I've been able to accomplish a lot, and we'll talk about that later. Work-wise, it's been pretty hectic. Things are really busy at work right now. And I don't think that it's going to let up this next week. But this next week is, I guess next weekend is Easter weekend. And any of you who celebrate Easter, I want to wish you a happy Easter. My family has a bunch of Easter traditions, and we actually kind of celebrate Easter all week. So starting tomorrow, we are going to be starting our Easter celebration traditions. We are going to, some of the things that we do is we have kind of a little devotional every evening, and we're going to be talking about Jesus' life during the last week of his life and kind of commemorating some of the things that happened leading up to his crucifixion and resurrection. And it's kind of a special time. My kids have always enjoyed doing that, and we have a whole bunch of different things that we do. So I'm kind of excited for that. One of the things that I like to do around Easter is something that I also like to do around Christmas time, and that is listen to Handel's Messiah. I find that really puts me into what I think is a good Easter mood. And if you don't know, there's a recording that was made by, they were then named the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. They've changed names. They're now called the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square or something like that. A couple of years ago, they made a new recording of the Messiah. And I've listened to several different recordings of the Messiah, and I just have to say that is the best recording ever. So if you're looking for a good recording of Handel's Messiah and are looking for a way to kind of put you in the Easter mood, look that recording up. It is really wonderful. The soloists are all wonderful, and I don't know, Mac Wilberg, who's the choir director, he kind of went through kind of like a historical review of all of the different versions of the Messiah that have been, and he's kind of pulled things together to make his own version. And I really like it's not anything that's really obvious, but the orchestration is just beautiful. The orchestra plays beautiful, and the choir is wonderful too. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be listening to this week, hopefully a couple of times. As we celebrate Easter, I am curious if you have any Easter traditions that you do as well. So if you have any traditions or any ways that you celebrate Easter, feel free to leave them in the comments below. So I want to respond to a couple of comments, and first of all, I want to thank you all for all of your comments. Last week I asked for some advice on how to best anchor silk threads, specifically with regards to my 4 Seasons sampler that I am stitching, and how to anchor silk threads, especially when you have one stitch that's all by itself. I got a ton of comments and a ton of advice, and it was all wonderful. It was a great discussion. So if you kind of have the same questions, feel free to go back to that video. It's my 45th video, and read through those comments. There's a lot of advice there. I had some people who said life is too short, just carry threads, and I don't know, I'm really paranoid. My problem with carrying threads is I don't know that I can tell whether or not the thread is going to show until at the point where the piece is actually framed, because when you actually stretch the cross stitch, that kind of opens up the holes in the fabric a little bit. And I don't think that you can really see until then whether or not you can see threads being carried. And by then it's too late. So I don't really feel comfortable carrying threads. But I also had some suggestions about, I had somebody suggest maybe using just a little bit of dab of fray check. I don't have any experience with fray check, and so I don't know whether or not that would be a good idea. But I think that the majority of people suggested continuing to use the pin stitch, but instead of just doing on the first leg of the stitch, instead of just doing one pass, to do several to do another pass to kind of give put more thread through the center hole of the stitch to give it a little bit more, I guess, less room for the thread to move around, and that would probably help. I think that's the best for me. I think that's the best suggestion that I got, and I'm going to try that on my Four Seasons sampler the next time that it comes around. So thank you. I really appreciate that, and thank you for all of your comments. I continue to get people who say that they are glad that I am doing more frequent updates, and thank you for that. Thank you for your encouragement. That kind of helps me to continue to want to do a weekly update. So I also want to talk about what I want to stitch. Only this time it's kind of like what I should stitch. This is another chart that I have had for a long time, and I have the fabric for it, and I have all the floss, and it intimidates me, so I haven't started it. But I really want to stitch this sometime. This is Heirloom Christmas Sampler by the Victoria Sampler. And I really like this. Actually, there's two different versions. There's this version on the front, which is kind of like pinks and bluish greens. I like this version better on the back, the red version. I think that's more Christmassy to me. So I want to stitch the red version, and I think it would look great. I really would love to stitch this. Well, I would love to see this finished. But when I look at the directions, I get intimidated. The first thing this tree up here is all backstitched. It's all backstitched. The leaves, the branches are all just backstitched. And I look at that and see how it would be really easy to get lost doing all of that backstitch. That has always intimidated me, but like I say, I need to set aside my fears and start this sometime. It's not only that, I mean, like, it says this is suggested placement for these there's like roses and these beads. And it kind of says, the chart says, these are suggested placements, put them wherever you want. I'm not that good. That scares me too. And of course, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, like there's this heart hanger band down here. There's cut work bands all the way through. And a whole bunch of specialty stitches. The specialty stitches don't really scare me as much as the heart hanger and like the hemming in here. So yeah, but like I say, this is something that I should stitch. It would probably be a good experience for me and be a good learning experience, I guess. So I should really stitch that sometime. So let's talk a little bit about what I've done this week. If you remember, at the beginning of last week, I said I was going to work on Amid Amish Life. And just to remind you of what that looks like, this is a design that was in the March, May, and July 1987 issues of Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. If you can find those issues, you can find it there. It is also available in this book, 101 Best Loved Designs from Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. And this is what it looks like. It's a set of 3 designs depicting Amish life. I am stitching them as one piece instead of 3 separate pieces. And so I've started over on this one. I'll insert a picture of what it looked like when you saw it last week. And I'm stitching this on 25 count wedgewood Lugana. I said Jobelan last week, and then I looked, and I think it was marked Jobelan when I started stitching it, but it has the orange line in the selvage, so I suspect this is Lugana. 25 count wedgewood. I'm stitching with DMC using 3 strands of floss, and this is what it looks like now. So I have been able to accomplish quite a bit. I basically stitched about 3 diagonals right through here. So I'll give you a little bit closer look. It's really starting to take shape. I'm starting to see the house. So this is part of the house with the roof. This is kind of, I think this is kind of like a back porch here. I finished this quilt and started this quilt. This is a lady who is hanging quilts. This design right here is called Hanging the Quilts. And also, I love these trees up here, these apple trees. Those are really cool. And now I'm starting to see the fields back here. And actually, when I start this next diagonal up here, there's some mountains back here and then clouds in the sky. And I'm actually going to start seeing the clouds. So I'm getting I'm getting close, pretty close to the top of the piece actually. The next design over is called Visiting the Neighbors, and I've actually started on that design over here. So this is the beginning, this is the line between the 2 designs, so I've started working on that. When I got over here, I knew what the border was like here, so I knew that I could carry that border back this way, carry the pattern back this way. So I stitched the border all the way back here. So that's done. Yeah, no, this has been a really fun piece to stitch, and it's really not too difficult. There's not a lot of color changes. Everything's in blocks, and so it's really quite easy to stitch. Yeah, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed working on it, and I look forward to pulling this out again in the future and working on it. It is really starting to look good, and I'm really happy with that. So that's what I've been working on this week. And like I say, I'm really happy with what I've been able to accomplish. And now we're going to talk about what I'm going to do this week. So I have reached the end of my rotation, which means that I can start another piece. And I've been debating about what I was going to do, whether or not I would start a new piece or not, and I finally decided that I am going to do a new start. And I decided, I've been kind of going through all of my stuff, trying to decide what would be the best thing to start, and I've decided that I am going to start Savior's Praise by Teresa Vanette at Shakespeare's Peddler. Ever since she showed this, I have just really loved it, and I'm really excited to start working on it. So this is what I'm going to start. I have everything all kitted up and ready to go. Like I say, I put it in a bag. The fabric, I'm not being entirely original here. I am going to use the called for fabric, which is 40 count beach brew by R&R. I've never used 40 count before, so this is a first for me to try stitching on 40 count. We'll see how that goes. I do not think I'll have any problems seeing the holes. I don't think I'll have any problems. Also, I'm using the anchor floss. I've never stitched with anchor before, so that's another first for me. Excuse me. So yeah, so I have the floss and the fabric all ready to go. I need to, I don't have, basically what I do for the edges with the fabric is I just run a zigzag around the edges of the fabric. So that's something I've got to do. I've got to run a zigzag around it just to help keep things from fraying. And I'll be ready to go. I'm really excited to do this. So one of the reasons why I love this piece so much is it reminded me of something. And first of all, I love this hymn, "Now Thank We All Our God." So I love that hymn. And then if you look around here, you've got faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And then there's different characteristics around the edge of the piece. And that actually reminded me of a scripture that I really like, that's in the Doctrine and Covenants. And I'm just going to read it to you. It says, "And faith, hope, charity, and love, with an eye single to the glory of God, qualify him for the work. Remember faith, virtue, knowledge, temperance, patience, brotherly kindness, godliness, charity, humility, diligence." All of those attributes. Some of those attributes are in here, and some of them are not. And what I'm planning on doing is I would like to change some of the attributes to pull some of those that are in that verse and replace them, like resourcefulness, which is good, but I think I would like diligence better than resourcefulness. Right judgment, I don't know. I haven't really thought through all that much so far. So I'm going to have to think through that and think what attribute I want to put in instead of the ones that I don't want, and how I'm going to try them out and all that kind of stuff. But I'll do that as I go. So that's basically how I'm going to change that, is I'm just going to change some of the words a little bit. I'm really excited to start it, and I think that this is a great week to start it because, like I say, we are going to be celebrating Easter all week, and this is a good Easter piece, I think. So I'm excited to start that. If you want to see how things go with my stitching this week, feel free to follow me on Instagram. I am at blitstitch. I hope that you have a great week. And as always, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe to this video, to my channel. I always enjoy hearing from you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer your questions. As always, I hope that you have a great week, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.